Well, good afternoon, brethren. Again, we're going to say it's August, but hopefully tomorrow we're going to be starting the downward grade of August. When we know September comes in, and we know in September, it's always, we can look forward, the feast will be coming up. Prepared you today is about the time, the essentials of life. We are physical beings, the mind and body form the most wonderful physical mechanism we know, but man made of matter. He's basically 16 elements of organic, physically functioning existence. Let's turn to our Bible in the beginning in Genesis 1:26, please. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the seas, over the birds of the air, and over the cattle, over the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. Then God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the seas, over the birds of the air, and over every living thing that moved on the earth." And God said, "See, I have given you every herb that yields seed, which is on the face of all the earth. And every tree whose fruit yields seed, to you shall be food for you. Also to every beast of the earth, to every bird of the air, and everything that creeps on the earth, in which there is life, I have given every green herb for food," and it was so. Then God said everything that he made, and indeed it was very good. So the evening and the morning was the sixth day. Then we'll go to chapter 2, verse 7. And the Lord God formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Man lives by the very breath of air. In the breath of life itself, it's the bellows we call lungs that do not keep exhaling and inhaling the oxygen-turning air. Man would not live to achieve any goal. You are one heartbeat away from death. As the lungs pump air in and out, the heart pumps blood through an intricate system of veins, arteries. This must be supported by food, water, and exercise. What then is the essentials of life? For our answer, let's first go to the water, which is a basic necessity of life. We need water to drink. We need water to bathe in, to raise our crops, to raise our livestock, to carry our goods from port to port. But over the years, what has man done with this water supply? He's wasted it, he's poisoned it, he's polluted it, used it like there would never be an end to it. Yet, this water is so volatile, it's running in short supply. Here in the good old USA, we are faced with droughts, some places drastic droughts. In the last year, it was Texas. Texas had, the drought was so bad they had to sell most of their cattle and take it to the market because the pastures couldn't sustain the cattle, so they had to take them to the market to get rid of them. In parts of Oklahoma, it got so bad their cotton crops was almost nil. In Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, the aquifer was almost empty. I mean, it was low as it had ever been. Looked like it would never get the water. But just a few. Nothing like the drought that's going on in California, where water is being rationed. But we do realize California produces more vegetable, nuts, fruits than any other state. but the effects will trickle down to us through rising prices at the supermarkets. Water now can become full of health problems also, consequences. One of the most serious ramifications relates to health, particularly in the developing world. People often don't have access to clean drinking water, so they drink and use whatever is available. Then you imagine having to drink nasty water, but a long time people have to go to drinking nasty water. On a very hot day, what really quenches our thirst? Oh yes, a good glass of ice cold water, refreshing water. But let us face it, reality is coming to pass when water is to become a major problem for all the world, and very soon. But let's take heart and see what the Bible says. Turn to Isaiah 41:17, please. When the poor and needy seek water and there is none, and their tongues fall for thirst, I, the Lord, will hear them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. I will open rivers in the desolate heights and fountains in the midst of the valleys. I will make the wilderness a pool of water and the dry land springs of water. So God promises in the end time in the world tomorrow that these places that dry, everything's going to be different. It's going to have a bountiful supply of water. God the Father is always the answer to any problem we face. Now let's go on to the next essential. Next essential I'm going to talk about is food. An old saying says we are what we eat. God spells out in the Bible in Leviticus 11:3 and 4, Deuteronomy 14:6 and 8. This is concerning the clean and unclean foods. But today I'd like to speak on today's food supply. Food found in our stores and supermarkets. Years ago when I was asked if I would like to be president of the upcoming class of the Sportsman Club, of course I answered yes. At that time, one of my favorite subjects was preservatives and additives in food. Well, I happened to be working at Union Carbide at that time. When our supervisor came over to me and the fitter that I was working with, he asked us to go over to this number 3 shipping. He was having a problem. Well, we went over to the shipping department, and I don't remember what the problem was, but we took care of that problem. But while I was there, I kind of looked over where the drum they were being filled, and I walked over one of the drums that had the label about, say, 12 inches by 8 inches, and it said, emulsifiers. A food additive. It can be used in ice cream, it can be used in soups, it can be used in gravies. In other words, it was a thickener, but it was all chemical. Now, when my mother wanted to thicken something, she'd use cornstarch, put a little bit of cornstarch, a little bit more cornstarch to make it thick. All this stuff is made from crude oil, of course. Then I looked around, they had what you call the chemicals BHA and BHT. Now, BHT is a product that's used in potato chips, sausages. It's to keep the oils in the thing from going rancid. BHT, if you look on cereal boxes today, you go through and there's a preservative, BHT. Now, BHA is a lot more expensive. Now, say if BHT would cost $10 a pound, the BHA with a high grade, it would cost $100 a pound. So what you think these food companies going to use most of the time? The BHT, of course. Now, let's go back to the unclean list of unclean, especially animals that can be eaten. It spells out animals that clean the cod or choose a cod. I don't know if you're familiar with the cod is, but raised on a farm, I know what the cod is. In other words, the cattle would graze all day long, and sometimes they go to the tree line and get in the shed. Well, sometimes you watch these cows, you see more, boy, they'll be chewing. So what are they chewing? Then I realized they actually belch up what they have eaten. and be the rumen, and the cow has 4 stomachs. In other words, it's processing this food that when you use the milk or the meat, it's going to be wholesome and nutrition. I remember years ago when we first got in the church, I asked a minister, I said, suppose if I take a young suckling pig and build him a nice pen, take him from his mama, and put him in a pen and feed him nothing but food and water. I said, wouldn't that make him clean? Good enough to eat? Oh, Mr. Jackson, he said, you missed the point. He said, God didn't fix that his digestive system to be made clean. In other words, everything he made went through a pig will eat anything. A pig roots around the yard, he'll eat anything. He said, that's why it's unclean, because his digestive system wasn't made to be clean. This is what God's plan for all mankind. This is not what God planned for all mankind. It should be enjoyable life, not afraid what we should be eating or even, putting into our system. Even in Daniel 1:8, it says, even Daniel knew the difference between eating wholesome food and not eating. In 8 it says, but Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's delicacies, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the chief of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and goodwill with the chief of the eunuchs. And the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who has appointed your food and drink. For why should he see your face looking worse than the young men who are your age? Then you would endanger my head before the king. He said, if he gave him the good food to eat, if the king heard about it, he might, and then he didn't want that. I will tell the king of your, no, turn it to the wrong page. So Daniel said to the steward, whom the chief of the eunuchs, and said over them, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat, water, and drink. Then let our countenance be examined before you, and the countenance of the young men who eat the portion of the king's delicacies. And as you see fit, for deal with your servants. So he consented with them in this matter and tested them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenance appeared better and fatty in flesh than all the young men who ate the portion of the king's delicacies. Thus the steward took away their portion of delicacies and the wine, and they were able to drink, and gave them vegetables. So you see, even Daniel knew the theory of eating the right foods. Well, it's not to be in this world today where the greed is on the thoughts of some people today, whether it be doctors, lawyers, politicians, salesmen. Everyone is after that dollar bill, and we do just about anything to get hold of it. Now, we know eating this food, if you go through the supermarkets, you can see the way the supermarkets are full of preservatives. And like I said, not too long ago, Kellogg said they came up with a Just Right cereal. Well, this Just Right cereal is supposed to be one of the healthiest cereal in the markets. So I waited for it. It finally showed up on the shelves. So I'm a reader of everything in the supermarket. I'm not a health nut, but I'll watch what I buy, watch what I eat, watch the preservatives, and watch this and that, the saturated fat, the sugars, or whatever. I'll always watch this stuff. So I took this Just Right cereal. The first one said sodium, 185 milligrams. Now the next one said sugar, 15 milligrams. And the bottom it said preserved with BHT. I thought, now this is supposed to be a healthy cereal. So I took the name of the box that said customer service. So I went home and I called customer service. The lady answered the phone. She said, what can I do for you? I said, this Just Right cereal is supposed to be one of your healthiest cereals put on the market. Oh, yes, sir. I said, well, the FDA says the minimum of salt, the lowest it could be would be 140 milligrams. Yours is 185. She said, well, so? I said, it says sugar's supposed to be 10 grams and under. You have 15. And then you have BHT for preservatives. She said, Mr. Nicholas, you don't understand. These is all flavor enhancers. I said, well, I know that. I mean, there's no question. It's all flavor to get you to buy this cereal, but it's all flavor enhancers. On the way to service one day, I remember we stopped at Walmart. We picked up a Paula Deen's pound cake. But I didn't really read the labels. We just stopped and picked it up. So I brought it, put it on the table back here, and I went back with Miss Pat. We was taking things out. I didn't see on the top of the thing, that's kind of funny for me, really not getting the scope of it. It said artificially flavored. I said, what? So then I said, well, we'll see what they have in it. Shook, turned it over. They had between 50 and 60 words what they put in that cake. I mean, some of the things I couldn't attempt to pronounce. And I said, what they put in that cake. Boy, I was almost ashamed that I bought that cake. I remember when my mother used to make a pound cake like this. She took 6 eggs and she broke them in a bowl. She put her milk, she measured the flour, put her baking powder, she put her sugar, and she'd put vanilla extract. Or sometimes she'd use almond extract, and she'd beat it all up. And she had 2 bundt pans. She put it in, because she always baked 2 cakes, because we had 10 in our family. And one cake sometimes wouldn't go far enough, so she'd always have 2. And when she baked it for about an hour and a half, whatever, she took them out and she put them on a tray and she turned them upside down. Why? Well, she'd go over to the drawer and she'd pull out a clean towel, dish towel, and she'd soak it in cool water, and she'd put it over the top of the pan. About 15 minutes, a half hour, she'd come back and she'd and put it over the pan. That was to make the cakes flop down by themselves, so you didn't dig it and the cake come out. And I remember slicing it up, and you buy the whipping creams in the store today. Well, she'd make a whipping cream out of real cream, beat it with a egg beater, put a little bit of sugar, and boy, you had your whipping cream. And boy, it tastes that much better. So if you go to these supermarkets, you watch watch what I buy, and it's amazing some of the junk they do have in supermarkets. Shirley and I went to Sam's the other day, stopped to pick up a few things. So we passed through. I went and got some bananas. I love bananas. I love bananas. So I went over to the banana rack, and boy, they had a box. They must have had a dozen peaches. I mean, big peaches. I mean, beautiful peaches. But I looked on the side of the box. Here's what it said. Coated with grade vegetable, petroleum, beeswax, and or shellac. Beeswax or rosin to maintain freshness. May be treated with any of the combination, flyexanol or phenexanol, to inhibit the mold, to keep mold from growing. Now, this is supposed to be a health product, but of course, they look beautiful. But just think if you ingest and eat all this preservative they put on it. Well, not too long ago, we had stopped at Golden Corral. And going through the line, of course, we're really picky when you go to Golden Corral. We usually go to the salad bar. They usually have a good salad bar. And we passed by the tray is full of food, and there's one that said fried fish. Well, being curious, I said, before I eat this fish, I'm going to find out what that fish is, So they had a young gal back there putting the stuff out. I said, ma'am, I said, that fried fish, do you know what kind of fish that is? She says, bassa. I said, bassa. And the older lady tried, but she said, it's a catfish. Bassa's a catfish. I said, well, definitely I don't want bassa. And she said, there's another one they call Seaver. It's a catfish. So I went home and put it on the internet, put bassa, from Vietnam. It's farm raised. The water that's farm raised is pumped out of the Mekong River, one of the most polluted rivers in the world. And when they feed the fish, the article said, they pick up anything inside the road they can get and bring it in and grind it all up and make it into powder, and that's what they feed those fish. Now, the Seaver is a little bit better grade of fish, but it's still the same thing. It's raised the same way. So it's kind of heartbreaking when you see those things, especially here, given this fish shipped all the way from Vietnam, when you got catfish all over here. But again, it goes back to the money part of it. And money, like I said, is the root of all evil. And like I said, the lawyers, politicians, car salesmen, if they can get you in and get that money, well, that's what they're there for. Now, another thing they put in food that we don't really know, if you read on most of the labels, is high fructose corn syrup. Now, what's the difference between high fructose corn syrup and sugar? Sugar is a natural. It's made natural. It runs through the mills, it's dry, and you have sugar. High fructose corn syrup is cornstarch that's chemically modified, and it's one of the worst sugars you can put on the market. In fact, now, all of your soft drink companies use high fructose corn syrup, except Pepsi Cola went over last year, went back to sugar. Okay, what's the difference? It is made by bonding the sucrose in the levels of the fructose. That's how sugar is made. But high fructose corn syrup has an unbonding pairing. When you digest your natural sugar, your enzyme work to slowly break down the chemical bonds and reintroduce the fructose into your body really slow, gradually. When you ingest the high fructose corn syrup, instantly it bombards your kidneys and your liver. It shocks your liver and your kidneys. And it's psychologically more damaging, as well as it induces other effects later on in life, of course. And especially if you're a diabetic, this high fructose corn syrup. Another thing that they talk about is trans fats. Now, you know what trans fats are still modified. It's all government made. They want you to get away from saturated fats, which is hog lard and everything else. And they came up, but they modified the vegetables oil to make trans fat. Now, in New York, they eliminated, you can use trans fats in none of foods anymore. But the FDA says it's banned from most food, but they still can use 0.5% in the foods. But what you think if you were a company, if you're using this 0.5%? If nobody's watching, you're gonna put more than 1.5%. It's all, like I said, a case of money. It goes back to money and, of course, the greed. The next essential of life I'll speak on is about exercise. Here's the saying about exercise: if you don't use it, you will surely lose it. And I'll quote, another one says, you only get out of it what you put into it. It's a very true saying. You can go to a gym and get into a high-tech exercise program, but it's not for older people I'm talking about. Exercise that can be done at home. Experts on the exercising is a good way to start is by stretching. Stretching is an excellent thing you can do for your health. The moves are simple, yet they can help you limber up for sports, improve your balance, prevent falls, increase your flexibility, and even relieve arthritis and some knee pains. Of course, you can stretch up myself. Before Shirley and I walk every morning 1.25 miles, and I always stretch. We get back in shape before I go out, because I lift a few weights and stuff like that, but I always do the stretching. And I believe it helps, because I had back problems where I've had a couple of epidural shots in my back. But I saw Dr. Oz talking about stretching. This fellow was telling people how to stretch, how it increases your flexibility, your movability. So I said, well, I'm going to try it. I said, I didn't have a book that said you do this or do that. But some of the things, you move this, you move this, you move that, whatever, your arm, your leg, reach over and bend here, bend there. For me, it worked. It worked. So I don't have the real pain in the back that I used to have. I have a little ache now and then, but the real pain hadn't returned. Whatever works for you. Another phase of exercise is walking. Doctors, scientists, workout people all agree that daily walking is one of the exercise you can do. Here you move all parts of your body, your arms, your legs, which in turn gets your heart pumping, which increases the blood flow from the tips of your fingers to the tips of your toes onto the brain. And here's a pamphlet I picked up about exercise. It says physical fitness and mental fitness go together. People who engage in regular exercise also tend to stay mentally sharp into their 70s and 80s. A 6-year-old study of internal medicine found that people who exercise more than 3 times a week had lower risk of dementia than their counterparts. Exercise may help memory in several ways. First of all, it's good for the lungs, and people who have lungs functionals sending a higher volume of oxygen through their blood vessel into their brain. Second, exercise helps reduce the risk of diabetes, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and stroke, disease that can lead to memory loss. There's also some evidence that exercise leads to increased connection between the brain cells, enhances the neural system's transmitter function. Experts recommend that you build physical activity into your daily routine. Here are some of the examples. When possible, walk instead of driving. Set aside each day some time for exercise, for a brisk walk or whatever gets you moving. Use the stairs instead of the elevator. Exercise at home, possibly with an exercise video. Plant a garden. Now that's a part I really like about planting a garden. When I'm in a garden, it makes me where I can meditate. And meditate opens up a lot of things in my life. I know I can meditate, and the garden helps the meditation part of my life. And it's just something I can do daily. I can talk with God. I can meditate on this. I can meditate on that. So. Can walking ward off Alzheimer's disease? Research shows that exercise may reduce the beta amyloid deposits in the brain that are believed to cause this disease. So walking, any sort of exercise can do some good. Into our life, I know Shirley and I, walking is a favorite thing to do, and we enjoy it. And we'll go through the neighborhood and we can see what's going on. Shirley and I can talk. And it's not a strenuous exercise. I mean, it takes effort. Like you say, if you don't use it, you lose it. So it gives us our mind to what we should be doing and what we want to do, what we want to accomplish in life. And we know the Creator appreciates anything that you do to have a real healthy life, something that you enjoy doing, and something that it brings to mind. Yeah, kind of putting my notes there, kind of. In closing, brethren, I've covered some of the essentials of life. Of course, water is most more important. In fact, it said you can go a long time without food. You don't have to have food daily. You can go a long time. You can live a long time without food, but you can't head a long time without water. You need that water. When I brought up the essentials of life, what I thought, water, food, and exercise, and I realized there were many more, maybe some more important than these, but I think they are somewhat essential in my life and lives of many people. Now let's go to one of my favorite scriptures, and I really love this scripture, and I rely on it, and I think about it often. It says that God will never leave or forsake us. He will never leave or forsake us. I know I'll be sitting on the carport, and I told Bobby a couple of weeks ago and Alex, You know, I said something comes up, you have a situation arise in your life, and you ponder there, you say, you know, now, what should I do? Is that the right road to take? Do I go to the right or go to the left? No, the good Lord said you shouldn't go to the right, go to the left, you should go straight. So I said, you know what I do, Bobby? I said, well, what would Jesus Christ do in this situation? How would he handle it? And boy, all the time, every time, that's the answer. What would Jesus Christ do with it? So it says he'll never leave or forsake us. If you need him, call on him. He's always there. I must close with this one here, and I love this scripture. I can do all things through Jesus Christ who strengthens me.